Welcome to the Priority Maintenance Podcast. I am Jeremy, your host, where we delve into different topics, interviewing guests on numerous items of interest to entrepreneurs and business people. We'll be interviewing investors, bankers, entrepreneurs, business owners, you name it, we're going to find them. And if that's something you're interested in doing, email us and we'd love to have you on as a guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your story. What do I want to talk about today? Today I want to talk about work ethic. And if you're an entrepreneur, you might or might not have the understanding of what work ethic is. The dictionary, according to Oxford Languages on Google here, says the principle that hard work is intrinsically virtuous or worthy of reward. I'm going to read that again. Work ethic is the principle that hard work is intrinsically virtuous or worthy of reward. So basically, hard work pays off. The harder you work, theoretically, the greater the reward or the more virtuous the reward. And I do find that to be true. I don't come from money. I don't come from anything. I have not inherited anything. Everything I have is I built it. I made it. I am a Christian, but so I do believe that there is a portion of that God helps me. But even then, I believe that my riches are because of the hard work. Our rewards are for our hard work. So work ethic. If you have employees, you might be noticing a lack of work ethic in people that you interview, people that you hire, maybe a turnaround. And so I want to talk a little bit about work ethic, and this is going to be a common topic. This is actually going to be part 1. We're going to hit part 2, and then we're also going to have some special guests, business owners, friends of mine, that I'm going to talk to them about their experience with work ethic and some funny stories along the way. I can share a story with you that's pretty comical. It just brings a smile to my face every time I tell it, and gets a good laugh out of people. I remember my wife, she owned a business, and she had an employee who was sweeping up a particular area, and my wife explained, look, this is how you do it. You got to get it in here like this, and you got to put a little elbow grease into it. And the employee turned, stopped, and looked at her and said, where do I find that? And my wife says, what? She says, the elbow grease. And so my wife chuckled and said, really? Because it was a term. It's an older term. But it was something that was foreign to newer generations. And so it was a funny, comical thing, but realistically, there is a lack of understanding of what work ethic is in these coming generations. And that's not the whole generation. And it's not, because there are good and bad in every single generation. But as a whole, what we're seeing that I'm seeing, and business owner friends of mine they're seeing, is that there is a disconnect between work ethic and the mindset of work and the intrinsic value of working hard. And working hard at no matter what job you do. I worked at a fast food restaurant in high school. I worked there for 3 years. It was In-N-Out Burger. I loved it. It was a great high school job. I didn't intend on staying there forever. Not that I couldn't have, because their managers get paid very well. In-N-Out treats their employees great. But I worked there for 3 years, moved up, got raises, things like that. But when I got out of high school, I started going into the trades and so on and so forth. But I worked hard at every job I worked at, no matter if I liked it or if I didn't like it, because I felt like that work was a reflection on who I am and what my character is. I wanted to be the hardest worker in the room. I wanted to be the hardest worker in the field. And so I would push myself. And it's kind of like the mindset of somebody being in the gym, being the hardest worker in that gym. You know, being that guy or gal who is just shredding it on the machines and shredding it on the free weights, whatever the case might be, just pushing themselves beyond the limits. And so what is work ethic? Is it important? I think it's extremely important. I think it's something that is extremely lacking within our community today as a whole in America. What can we do to help mitigate this lack thereof? Well, I think a lot of it comes from broken homes. I think a lot of it comes from different agencies that kids find themselves in. We have an entertainment culture that is not an active culture. It's a sit back and let's watch 6 hours of YouTube or TV or sitcoms or play video games. And I don't think any of those things are necessarily bad. I think any of one thing is bad. I think that if we delve into too much video games, too much TV, I think that is where we begin to see negative side effects. Negative effects on people's personalities, characters, and lives is when they get into one thing too much. Even people who work out. Somebody can work out unless it's a part of their livelihood or something like that. I mean, it could be dangerous just to work out. Somebody working 5, 6, 7 hours a day working out, it leaves little to grow other areas of your life. And so I think too much of any of one thing can be a bad thing. So what do? How my hiring process is I just try to find young men or women who work hard, and I'm not really concerned about their degrees. I'm not concerned about their pedigree. I'm not concerned about their skills. The skills are going to be taught. I'm looking for hard workers. And I have a very generous raise initiatives that I give them milestones so that they're not guessing, hey, what do I have to do to get to this, to this, to this? And so I give it out. I put it out there for them to see. Said, this is where you can be. This is where you can be. Hit this mark, hit this mark. So it incentivizes them to work hard and work faster and become more efficient. And I found that those who have work ethic, they tend to meet those milestones a lot faster. But in talking to some business owner friends of mine, work ethic, it's a common item, demeanor that is lacking when they are interviewing employees. Employees don't, people who come for interviews, they don't dress up anymore. Whereas I was in high school, we were taught no matter what job you go to, you wear a nice shirt and a tie and slacks. Girls wear a dress suit or something equivalent. You make yourself the best presentable as possible. Even when I went to get an interview for fast food, I wore a nice shirt and a tie, and that set me up above. I think there was like 40, 50 candidates applying, and I think I was one of 4 that got hired. And so that tells me something. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm looking for a job, I set up an interview with them, and they come with a shirt and tie, that tells me a lot. It means that they took the extra time initiative. But that is lacking. And that's something that I think is a failure upon our public school systems, parenting in general, and things like that. And I'm not trying to be a controversial person. I'm just saying that there is definite needs and there's definite items that are lacking within the workforce that are not being addressed. And common problems and things that need to be looked at and things that need to be trained. And I'm not even saying that it's young generation's fault, because I think that me as what I would consider an older generation, I'm in my early 40s, I would say that I have a part in training and teaching young people on how to go through an interview. I have 3 children. I have to teach them, hey, this is how you do an interview. This is why it's important. This is how you should dress. This is how you should talk. You need to look the person in the eye. You need to shake their hand. You need to say, no, sir, yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. You need to be very polite and courteous. And so that's the beginning part. And then the work ethic is you show up to work on time. You don't call in sick. You don't show up late. I remember my first few jobs, I might have called in sick one time in the entire year. And when I interview people now, I say, I say in a month, how often should you call in sick? And the typical answer I get, or how many times should you be able to call in? The typical answer I get is 3 to 5 times. Well, let's break that down. If I have 10 employees and I have each employee calling in 3 to 5 times a month, that's 30 to 50 call-ins a month. And so when you break down the numbers to somebody like that, and to be fair, I say, and I break that down to an individual. I say, okay, so let's say I have 10 employees and I do the same math for them as I just said for you. They stop and they ponder. It's like, yeah, that does seem like too much. And I say, okay, realistically, you shouldn't even be calling in once a month. A realistic scenario is you should be calling in, unless something is really wrong, because we don't want people coming in who are sick. A realistic scenario is somewhere between 5 and 10 times a year, 10 being way out there. You talk to older generations like my mothers and aunts and uncles, and then my grandparents. I mean, they would call in maybe once a year. And so you're seeing these trends that are taking over, and it's really having an impact upon businesses. So work ethic is something that it can be taught. Work ethic is something that should be taught, and work ethic is something that is lacking. And I believe we all have a part in teaching younger generations how to work hard. And how I do that is I give them hard things to do and I reward them after they get that hard thing done so that they then begin to understand that, hey, you do hard work, there is a reward. Oftentimes why younger people who are coming up don't work hard is because when they did work hard, they were not rewarded for their hard work. Now, I do believe in separating the value of who we are as individuals in the character aspect. I believe that there is an inherent reward in self-satisfaction in being a hard worker. Now, to teach younger people that when they don't have that background and that understanding, that is a foreign mindset. And so you dealing with mindset takes time. It's not an instantaneous thing. And I do counseling and I do things like that with my employees, the guys who work for me, and I walk them through things. I explain things in detail. I give them scenarios. I break down scenarios. I say, okay, let's look at it from this angle. Do you see what I'm talking about here? And they'll say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And oftentimes it's just because people have not taken the time to explain to younger generations how the world really works. And then when they're get fired or they get written up or things like that, then they're left like dumbfounded, like, well, what did I do? I've done everything that I've always done. And so it's really important to explain the reason why and to give a clear definition of what you expect of employees and what work ethic for your company means. Because there's different forms of work. Different companies have different mindsets of what work ethic is. So I have a particular mindset of what work ethic is. And so I explain that in detail when I hire people. And I also explain in detail the rewards and benefits of their hard work. So this is part one of work ethic, and I hope it finds you well. I hope it's encouraging. I hope that you're rocking it and killing it in the business world. Stay tuned for more podcasts, and I hope that you like and share this and follow us on all social media platforms. And what you can really do is leave a comment, give us 5 stars on whatever you're at. And so just help us grow this podcast to help other business owners. I know it's like a drop in an ocean of water, but I think we have some unique perspectives and maybe some controversial things that people haven't talked about or thought about because they're worried about cancel culture or whatnot. I'm not too concerned about that. I want to help you grow as a business leader. I want to grow as a business leader, as an individual, and help our companies become better and better. Thank you and have a great day. See you next time.